Oh man, I'm so tired. What time is it? 11 a.m. on Monday, October. I don't even know. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 2019. Shit, man. Where have I been? What have I been doing? I worked this weekend. I have no money, which is good. Found $2, and I got a pack of cigarettes and a couple extras to last me. I still pay on Friday because I haven't had any money for almost 2 weeks. My brother lent me a pack or 3 packs of cigarettes on last Friday. Let's see. Just kind of putting the finishing touches on the book. When I say that, I mean trying to figure out where I want to end it. Do I want to end it with the little book chapter? Do I want to write a chapter of the resurrection and heaven, or do I just want to group it all together? Let's see. I'm thinking about Fordham, just the name Fordham. Fordham meaning like, like a crossable river of water. And then a ham means like a settlement, I think. So Fordham means, I know Fordham means it's a settlement by a river of water. And the ark is supposed to create the water of life. A flow of, a stream of the water of life. So if you were to identify the location of the Ark of the Covenant and excavate it, the question is, where would it go afterward? And the third temple, there isn't a temple in the holy city, because the temple is the throne of God and the Lamb which dwell in it. Well, the throne of God's the ark. So the ark's going to be in New Jerusalem. And New Jerusalem isn't Old Jerusalem. New Jerusalem is New Jerusalem. So where the fuck would you put it after I have already explained that New Jerusalem is New York City, the island of Manhattan? Where the fuck would you put the Ark of the Covenant in Manhattan? And Fordham makes sense because A, it's a university. B, the name means a settlement by a river of water. And the ark and its contents, the Ten Commandments, create the water of river of the water of life. Because at first I thought the water of life was this small little creek called the Minetta Creek in it's since been covered up in Manhattan, but it's not, because the whole concept of the tree of life, the water of life, whether you look at Revelation and the end of the Bible or the beginning of the Bible in Genesis, the whole fucking idea is of the mind. The water of life is when you eat from the tree of life. And the tree of life was described by Moses, wasn't an actual fucking tree. And the serpent in the tree of knowledge of good and evil wasn't an actual serpent. It's what Moses used to describe it, the idea of where your thoughts are. And Adam and Eve were created. Oh, man. See, man was already created. Men and women were already created before Adam and Eve. Adam was the first man to have a hyper-religious episode. Guy we'd call mentally ill today. And Eve was found after Adam was put in a deep sleep, because he became alive. He was given the breath of life from God, or the knowledge of God in his mind. He's basically the nutty guy who first said, oh, like God this, God that, or whatever. Those crazy people talking about God who feel euphoric, you want to be away from, that we medicate. That was Adam. He was the first guy to have a hyper-religious episode. The way I see it, Moses was describing that in the Garden of Eden. After, thousands or tens of thousands of human beings were already walking the earth. The first guy to have a hyper-religious episode. And he goes into a sleep when he meets his girl. He's a nutty guy. And now he needs a girl. And his rib was his dick when he would, have sex with his girl. So he's a crazy dude who a girl falls in love with. And what happens? And he knows God exists because he's seen God in his own way. I don't know what that was, because Moses lived 1,300 or 2,500 years after Adam when Moses recorded this. Moses basically started writing his family history, which is the first family of mental illness, as we call it. But they're not mentally ill because God actually exists. That's the thing. That's the big rub. My point is, Adam and Eve have their kids, and it's this whatever family disorder. But what God, how Moses describes the incident in the garden, Eve was the one who ate from the tree because she was duped by the serpent. Meaning, Adam is having his connection with God. He winds up meeting this girl, Eve. She has a connection to God. She gets hyper-religious. But then she says, is this real? Surely God isn't in control of everything. He's not screening all of my thoughts. Nah, my husband's crazy. And then Adam, the way I see it, then doubted himself. And then God came, as Moses described it, and punished Eve and the serpent and Adam or whatever by kicking them out of the garden. Original sin, which means they went from feeling euphoric to feeling like shit, like the rest of human since then. But God's punishment says, I'll put enmity between Eve and her seed. Enmity between Eve's seed and the serpent's seed. Which means all the children that Adam and Eve had, and their children, and their children, and their children, will have this enmity with the old serpent. It goes two ways. The children in a line, whoever they may be, I guess all of them, through a certain line of Adam and Eve's children, through Moses, and then David, Jesus, and all the way down to me. My mom and dad, not my mom's mom, but my dad's mom and her parents, and they're all fucking, there's always a religious problem. And it intertwines very, very, very cleverly Muslims and Jews. How much time do I have? 8 minutes. I could talk about this for fucking. The question is how I'm gonna write this into the book. But here's the deal. So what happens is her seed, the seed of Eve will bruise the serpent's head. Now the serpent's doubting God. It's like, nah, that's crazy. Everything this guy's saying, everything I'm saying, everything Moses said, everything Jesus said, is all nuts. They're mentally ill. It's bullshit, right? That's the serpent. Well, we bruise the serpent's head by saying, nah, there's something there. There's something there. So we're bruising doubt. We're damaging doubt by saying, nah, fuck that. We got it. We know that God's screening everything, God exists. So that's how we bruise the serpent's head. And the serpent strikes at our heel, which means in our family. Also, we have the other side, which is, and it's not the other side of the family, it's per generation, you're going to fall into one of two categories. Either God exists and you live passionately to prove God's existence at some point in your life to the tune of mental illness, which isn't mental illness because we're going to resolve it right now. Or you think, fuck God, because some other relative was all about God. You're like, fuck God, I'm going to disprove God, like my dad. My dad's an atheist. He believes in, he's like, the Ten Commandments are a relic. I know where the Ark of the Covenant is. Fuck religion. I'm Satan, is what he would say, jokingly. But I don't think he's really joking because he really doesn't believe in God, which is the idea of not believing in God. It's the serpent, that old serpent, the dragon, devil, and Satan. All right, so where was I? So you're either... The serpent either strikes at your heel, meaning you doubt God doesn't exist, or you bruise its head by going on like a God-based savior journey. It's one of the two. It's clever. And it all occurs within this family, this line of the seed of Adam and Eve, of Eve. Because Eve had the same fucking problem. God made some guy have hyper-religious, bipolar mental illness, and he went into a fucking euphoria. Then said, I need to get him a girl. So he produced a girl, basically touched a girl, beep, like now you've got hyper-religious euphoria too. And it would make sense that Adam went into a deep sleep, because if he were in a hyper-religious euphoria and then he met a girl, he's gonna like go from being fully alive to like with a woman who all women do is fuck up the situation. Not being sexist, I'm saying in this family, my mom and my dad, Adam and Eve, Joseph and Mary, Jesus and Mary Magdalene, all of it. Me and Natasha, all women do is fuck things up. But I'm not saying that Natasha fucked anything up. I'm just saying that the concept of the guy and the girl. I'm the religious proponent and, Natasha's the atheist. Or my mom's the religious woman, but my dad's the atheist, but who finds the ark, because my mom's the serpent thinking of religion. All the way up through my grandmother, and then her husband, and then her mom and dad, and then their fucking, all it is the same shit over and over and over and over again. Until me. My name, James, means to seize the heel. So you know how the serpent strikes the heel? Well, I seize it, so there's no reason, or there's no more serpent to strike. And all you do is you chain the serpent with a great chain. And a chain has links. And each link is a data point that proves God's existence. It responds to every argument. Because there is no argument, because God exists. And it's all about the Ten Commandments. His rule book. So, I'm thinking about how to write the tree of life. The tree of knowledge of good and evil is down in the existence of God. Being like, no, God doesn't exist. I got this shit. Yeah, we got this shit. Look at the world. We have it now under 11 years until, climate change doom. We haven't done shit for one of the 12 years that were allotted by the UN. So now we need a divine solution to come in. You need a fucking lion to seize the heel. So that's kind of what I'm working on. But the idea is from the tree of life. The tree of life is the holy city surrounding the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant, God's dwelling place, will rest at Fordham in Manhattan. it's between Columbus, Amsterdam, 60th and 62nd Street. 62nd Streets. Bordered, this is the best part. On one end is Columbus, means exploration. On the other end is Amsterdam, which means party with drugs. On the north side is Lincoln Center. It's performing arts, live music, opera, theater, shit like that. And on the south side is Hell's Kitchen. Think about those four concepts. Live performance, exploration, drugs, experimentation, Amsterdam, and Hell's Kitchen. If you're God and you get a dwelling spot, where do you want it to be? And then each avenue in the city, in Manhattan, is a foundation for a wall. It's just a foundation of the holy city, which we're going to rename, or not rename, but add in honor of each of the 12 apostles. And if you look at an easy pass map of bridge and tunnels, you'll see 3 bridges or tunnels to the north, south, east, and west, which will be renamed after the 12 tribes of Israel, which you'll see when you enter from Manhattan, going to Queens, New Jersey, or upstate, or Staten Island, or whatever. Just any of those bridges or tunnels, or if you're coming in. So that concept, you've just created the tree, which is the arc, the avenues in the city, access points in and out of Manhattan, and each of the 12 branches, I don't know how to call them, they'll be for the healing of the nations. The leaves, as they call it, they'll be for the healing of the nations, which is once a month. Once a month we'll celebrate. I don't know if we'll have to group together an apostle with there's 12 tribes surrounding the city, like in terms of the bridge and tunnels being we'll add 12 names to the bridges and tunnels, just like we'll have 12 apostles' names on each avenue. But each month we're going to celebrate one of them as a reminder forever that God's as a reminder of the importance of this tree of life, which is about, as you see, Jewish faith coming to terms with Christian faith on the avenues, with the Ark of the Covenant, the fucking God's dwelling spot, which houses 10 rules, 10 commandments, a 10-article constitution that we consistently remind ourselves of forever. And we know that God is adhering to each of those 10 commandments in every human being's life to a T. And you would want a university to constantly be exploring, as a reminder, the impacts of that. And what better university than Fordham? Because Fordham means what? It means a settlement by a river. And that ark creates a river of life. Amidst the water of life. In your mind, you understand that is when you focus on all of your thoughts, not all of your thoughts. If all of your waking hours there is an awareness that God is screening your thoughts relative to those 10 commandments and screening your actions too, nothing happens to you. Like, you don't get sick. You don't fucking get hit by a bus. Why would he want someone to be injured or ill if they have a constant understanding? Now you may say, well, but I do that. Yeah, Now let's talk about what's around the Ark, around Fordham. Columbus, do you spend time exploring in your, with your mind? Do you try, like, are you exploring the world? Are you doing something new? Or are you sitting at home watching fucking television, which breaks the commandment, by the way? Amsterdam. Are you expanding your mind, right? Are you using, how do I say this without making it sound like I want everyone to be addicted to drugs, because that would break a commandment too. But are you, when you get high, do you get high to become closer to God? Live performance, music, theater, not TV or graven image on the north side. It's the last live show you went to. Do you listen to music or you watch TV all day? And then, of course, you have Hell's Kitchen because, that would be the... Not saying that Hell's Kitchen's bad, but that's symbolic of saying, you know what, fucking God doesn't exist. Boom. So between all that, you have your tree of life. 10 Commandments. An active God. Exploring, expanding your mind, avoiding hell, endorsing the arts. What else is there to life? Oh yeah, and then working together is what we see in the bridges and the tunnels. With the tribes of Israel listed, and then the avenues. As all of it acts as the tree of life, or the third temple reminder. And of course, it's all housed at Fordham University. So, I think about these things.